I'm Ashy, and today I'm going to teach you how to paint this cute little axolotl in watercolor brush pens. You could definitely do this in regular watercolor too if you want. It'll probably actually be faster because there's so much blending and stuff that it made it a little bit trickier with the brush pens, but it definitely worked. Probably faster with regular watercolor. So definitely if you want to do that, use the sketch part and then go after it with regular watercolors. But if you want to use the brush pens, follow along. And I really enjoyed this. I made this for my daughter's birthday. Obviously, it's a birthday card. It says happy birthday. But you could use this for other things, do little puns, or if you or somebody you know really loves axolotls, paint it on a larger scale and just frame it and hang it up. So let's go ahead and look at how we paint the axolotl. And while we're going through, I tend to forget to ask for any sort of engagement. So if there's any points that you have questions or comments or critiques, or just want to start a conversation, jump into the comments. And if you like the video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel for tons of tutorial type content. Thank you so much. Let's dive in. So I'm going to use these Funto blank watercolor cards. They're 300 GSM, so they're nice and thick, and they're perfect for like little illustrations. And then it's obviously a card. So I'm going to start with that. It's 5x7. And I'm going to paint on the more textured side of the card. So when you get them, like the outside is less textured, the inside's more textured. So I'm just gonna fold it back the other way, and I'm gonna paint on this one here. And then I think that I'm gonna flip it and make it this direction because I want my axolotl to be longer here. And I'm gonna make this, I'm gonna attempt to make this as a birthday card for my younger daughter, or for my older daughter, because her birthday's coming up. So we'll see how it turns out. But I'm gonna start by really lightly sketching out the axolotl. So I'm gonna have its tail kind of down on this side here. And it's curving around back, so that's why I kind of did a straight line here, because that's where it curves. And then the top is gonna have kind of like a wavy line. I'm gonna exaggerate it a little bit. They're probably not actually that wavy, but again, this is just a little illustration, so I can exaggerate it as much as I want. Okay, and then the bottom, I'm also gonna do like a little wavy line for the tail. Okay. And then there's like a separate part, there's like a dorsal fin kind of. I don't know if that's what it's called, but that's what I'm calling it. A dorsal fin on the back here. So this top wave is more of like a fin. Okay. And then it tapers down to meet the back of the axolotl. Okay. And then we're going to give it a nice big belly here. Okay. I want it to be kind of a chubby axolotl. So I'm going to do a nice little curve here, so it's almost like a circle in the middle. So there's its belly. And we'll have a leg coming off here that just kind of comes back. And so it's two parallel lines, and then its little foot is going to have like webbed toes. Okay, so I have the first toe coming out here, and then I'm going to swoop and do like a curve to go to the next toe. And then same thing for the next one. And just do that, I don't know, 4 times. I really have no idea how many toes they have. So I'm loosely basing this off a picture that I did actually take at the zoo when I went to the zoo in the summer with my kids. So we spent quite a while looking at the axolotls because that is my daughter's favorite animal. And so we kind of sat there and she stared at them for a while. And she was very excited because they had a pink one and a bluish purple one. So, and those are her 2 favorite colors. So she was very excited about that. Though now her favorite color is green. I don't know if there are green axolotls though. There might be. Okay, so its head is, I'm just kind of doing another half circle here for the head. And then it's gonna come up this way and have its little jaw right there. Okay. And I'm just very loosely getting this sketched in. And then its front arm kind of comes out from the head, which is a little bit weird, but that's where it is. Okay, so kind of bring an angle down, and then the other half of the arm is going to come more back toward the body and angle, and it has like a little elbow here. Okay, so it's going to come down from that elbow like so, taper down to like a wrist, and then have the little hand here. And again, we're going to have those webbed fingers. So a line and then a curve to the next line, curve to the next line. Okay. Okay, so there's the general shape of my axolotl. Kind of curve that back line a little bit more. Give it a little bit more movement. And I want this dorsal fin to kind of come up a little higher, I think. Okay. And then I'm going to draw in the gills here. So that's like their hallmark feature, right? Is these like feathered gills that come off the back of their head. So I'm just going to kind of put in little rounded rectangles, essentially. Okay. And then they're going to have like some wavy, bumpy patterns off the side. So from what I can tell, I've looked at quite a few different axolotls pictures, but some of them have more like wavy edges to the gills, but they look more solid. And then some of them have more like feathery type gills, but I'm going to do the wavy ones. If you want to do the feathery ones, I would recommend doing like a pink axolotl, because the gills are more prominent and darker than the skin. And so it would be easier because then you can just paint the gills over the skin. Whereas this one, I'm going to be negative painting around the gills because they're going to be actually lighter than the skin on the axolotl. Just kind of adding a little bit more interest to the bottom shape of the head here. And then same kind of to the nose. And then I'm going to get its mouth drawn in here. Okay. So I'm kind of doing a line and a little bit of a curve up, very slight. And then like a little U shape and then another line. Okay, just to get some movement. And then its eye is going to be right here. Okay, so there's the eye there. And we're going to try to make a little eyelid shape, and then there'll be like a little nostril here. Okay. Now I'm going to take my kneaded eraser and clean up some of those lines. Okay, so I'm just going to start by rubbing out some of the extra lines that I had. Sounds like my neighbor's doing some yard work. I'm sorry if you can hear that in the video. Okay, now I'm just going to dab across the rest of it to lighten it up. Okay, I think I want to kind of redraw this gill a little bit. That should be good. Make sure it's nice and light. Okay, so for the painting, I'm actually going to be using, I think, just these 4 colors, but I do have the rest of my watercolor brush pens if I need them. But for now, I have number 34, dark cyan, number 42, Byzantine, number 40, heron blue, and number 10, sky blue. So these are hopefully going to be the only colors that I use. And then I have some water here so that I can activate the pigment in the brush pens. And then I have a couple of different brushes. I have my Degato round brush size 8. This is synthetic, so it's fairly stiff, but still holds quite a bit of water. This one, I don't even know the name of the brand, but it's more stiff and holds less water. So they're both fairly stiff. They're both, you know, about the same size. This one holds a little bit more water. This one holds a little bit less. I do also have a spray bottle here. Maybe I'll try to spray it and see what happens to get some texture. We'll see. And then I just have some various other brushes laying around. Like these brushes I'm probably not gonna use. They're gigantic for this. I'm actually gonna go ahead and put those away. But I have like a liner brush here if I need it. A very small detail brush. This is a size 2 Giorgione brush. I don't know. My mom bought these for me. I really like them though. But yeah, so that's like a little detail brush. So we'll see, I might use those. But for the most part, I'm gonna be using my brush pens. And then I need to grab my little palette to color into. So I have these little ceramic palettes. I've used this for some yellows and stuff, but that's okay, not a big deal. And so I can color into here and then pick up that color if I need to get a better kind of wash. And I might actually start with that, with the lightest blue here, and do like a little wash of color over the whole thing. Just to get the edges defined, basically. So paint in the whole thing, and that way if there are some areas that I might not paint as dark, it'll still be offset from that background of white, because I don't think I'm going to paint the background of this. I'm just kind of erasing a little bit more of my pencil marks here, since now I have my border made with the paint. I don't really need the pencil marks as much anymore. Okay, so now I'm gonna go in, this is still damp, and I'm gonna add in, that's the wrong blue, some of my heron blue, which is the lightest blue here. I'll give it a shadow. Okay, so I'm gonna put some of this color in kind of on the very tip of the nose. And then some little dots around on the head. Paint in those gills with it. Okay. And then add some water to the tip here to lighten it up and add a little bit more of that color very faintly up into the back. And then also can help kind of bleed out some of these areas, make them a little less defined. No. Having some faint linear marks here to kind of look like the ribs coming around from underneath. A little bit of linear marks from the top as well. Just kind of bring that through the gills area too. So after you kind of rinse it out, if you rub it on a towel a little bit or a paper towel, it'll kind of reactivate it a little bit more. So I'm just kind of lightly defining the change from the fin part to the body part. Okay, so now I'm going to take my brush and kind of blend all that out a little bit more. So just adding water to it and blending it out. Now these gills, if they blend out a little bit, I'm not that concerned because behind it is actually going to be in shadow. So it's going to be darker and I'll be negative painting around. There. Okay. Now it's still wet. I'm going to go in and add some of my purples and it'll kind of bleed out a little bit. So it's not going to be very defined marks here. I think I want to lighten it up like I did the blue though, because I don't want it to be too crazy dark. Add some purples around. If you watched my Leafy Sea Dragon watercolor brush marker tutorial, you know I painted on the smoother side of these cards, and so this is kind of me switching it up and painting on the more textured side. I am definitely liking it better. So if you get these cards and you want like the paint to stay where it is, use the smoother side. If you want it to bleed a little bit more, use the more textured side, which makes sense because it's like hot and cold press, but I didn't think about it enough the last time, I guess. So I'm just kind of coloring in the body with that purple. Now I'm going to go back in and add in some more of the blue. And these two colors kind of make a soft gray color, like a purpley gray. So it's a nice combo for the shadow areas to layer these. And then I'll use the dark cyan to get the darkest shadows. Okay, kind of sticking with those linear marks here for those ribs. So just swooping curves around. Add a little bit more of that into the tail just to get a similar vibe. I have no idea what their bone structure is like in the tail, but you know, that's okay. And this front leg is going to come out kind of in front of that body, so I want it to be this nice bright kind of blue color. And then here it'll be really shadowed, so I'll be layering in the darker colors here. But I'm going to get this arm painted in. Okay, so for the hand, it's actually easier to paint it than to draw it because you just use the tip of the brush. So I'm going to use the tip and then come back toward the hand. So we'll point down and then curve up and push down as I come up into the hand. Okay, and then I can curve down to the next one and do the same thing. Okay, and then curve it around to the next point. Do the same thing. Curve it down. And then one more. And just kind of use that point of the brush to create the shapes. Okay. Now it looks kind of dark right now, but I promise it won't look that dark because we will be adding in the shadows, so it's not going to look nearly that dark. For the back foot, I do want it to be a little bit lighter, so I just took some of the pigment off of the brush with dipping it in water, and then I'm going to get those toes in. So just kind of tip of the brush and curve them around, and then pull it all back up toward the body. Okay, and then I can add in some shadows later to define it further. Okay, so I think the axolotl is actually coming together really well. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to kind of add a little bit more to this fin. So I'm going to do some blue, fairly dark, along the edge, just following that edge of that body. And if it overlaps a little bit, that's okay, because there would be kind of a little shadow there, right? And then just some linear marks up into the fin, and curving them a little bit. Maybe it looks like the fin is waving some, so they don't all have to be curving the same direction. The fin here can be waving the other way. Okay, and then I'm going to take some water and activate it to blend it out and make sure that those lines aren't too defined. Kind of scrub out. Okay, and then I'm just going to add in a little bit more, making sure I don't have too much pigment on my brush, on the brush pen. And then I can add some extra to some areas where it might be kind of look like it's shadowed, right? So like here, where it dips down, maybe there's a shadow. And then let's say like here, there's another shadow. So I'm just adding some extra pigment in there to give it that slightly shaded look. Okay. Get my paint to reactivate there in the brush, and then add some more linear marks again. And this is really just like feeling it. I'm not planning it really. I'm just kind of letting my hand do its thing. And I'm gonna leave that because I like it. Okay, so I kind of like most of this actually. Now I'm gonna start adding in some darker colors. So I'm using the dark cyan, but I tapped it in the water because I don't want too much of it. It is a very dark color when it's kind of full strength. And I'm gonna start negative painting some of these areas. So around the head, I need to negative paint around the edge of the head there. And then I can draw that shadow out into the arm. Okay. And then I can darken it again later. I'll go over it with another layer to darken it. That's kind of the first. And then I'm going to kind of add a little bit of darkness under the toes and kind of between them to give a little bit more dimension to, I guess, if we're calling this a hand, these would be fingers, but just give it a little bit more dimension. Okay. All right. And then I'm gonna go back to my blue here, my lighter blue, the Herrick blue, and kind of do the jaw. So I'm painting in that bottom jaw. And then I'm going to kind of color it in with swirly movements here, all the way up to where I put the mouth, basically. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the purple to it and kind of blend it together. So again, using those swirly movements, and that kind of grays it out a little bit more. Okay, so a little bit more of the pink. Again, blending it, little circles again, just to blend it out with the blue. There. Add another layer of blue.
Yep.
And by adding these layers, I'm just darkening it slightly with each one. Okay,
You're gonna kick your nose.
rinse that out. Blend out the edge. So if you like to do it that way instead of using a paintbrush, it's kind of a little bit more controlled because this doesn't really hold much water. So it's kind of a nice way to control it. Okay. Now I'm going to add just a tiny bit of the dark cyan. Again, kind of rinsed out the tip a little bit. And I'm just adding a very small amount to get some of those darker shadows in. Okay, so now I'm going to come back here and add in another layer of shadow on the leg. Okay, so it's much, much darker this time. Okay, now I'm going to add some purple to that just to warm it up just a little bit because it's a little too blue-gray. I want it to be a little bit more purpley-gray. Okay. And then I'll need to wait for that to dry to add a little bit more and make it even darker. Okay, so now I think I'm going to start going in. I have to decide if I want to make, I think I want to make the underside of this belly a little bit darker. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the chin with adding some of the blue first. Linear marks. Okay, and then some of the purple. And then again, doing those linear marks. And then just a touch of the dark cyan. And I'm going to rinse a little bit because I want to take some of that off. Get in a little bit more. And then draw some of that up in those curved rib areas to get just a little bit more shadow. Okay, now I'm going to take the pink, rinse it out, and add some water along the top to blend those out. Adding just a little bit more of the like polka dot looking. Brushing in some of this blue. These like little patches of blue on my axolotl.
Cheers. Okay.
Okay. I'm going to add a little bit more darkness to the under the bottom of this foot. Just a small touch of the purple. Maybe just the smallest amount of the dark cyan as well. Just to give it a little bit of shadow. Okay. Now I'm going to come back up here to the pink. And make sure that it's activated and add in this Byzantine. It's a number 44. I'm just calling it pink mostly. Into this leg. Okay, a little bit more dark cyan. Okay, so now I'm gonna work on the gills. So I'm actually gonna negative paint around the gills here. So I'm gonna start with the pink and I'm gonna paint in where the back of the head is. Okay. And then add in a layer of the pink. So again, this is shadowed. So it's going to be nice and dark. And I'm going to paint around the gills. So here's where I'm actually defining the shape of those gills, getting them more interesting. Okay, and then I'm going to put in the dark cyan right away so that they blend together. And I'm going to use the stiffer brush that holds less water to blend that out along the edge, just kind of scrubbing that edge with some clean water. And blend it out. Okay, same thing for the next gill. So literally just drawing around the shape that I want to create.
Yeah. Yes. Wait.
Okay, same thing, blend out the end of that shadow. And then get this last one in. And that one's gonna blend into the shadow at the bottom of the belly and at the arm.
So,
Okay, and then blend that out a little bit. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of a shadow behind the head at the top though. Okay, so from this gill, there's going to be kind of the top of the head there. Oops, pulling that shadow out a little bit. Minimal pigment there in the tip. I rinsed it beforehand. And this one isn't rinsed, so it's going to have more of the pink. Okay. And then get some of my dark cyan to reactivate and add that in to the back of the head. Okay, blend that out a little bit. Okay, kind of a soft transition there toward the top of the head. Get just a little bit of water here. Blend that shadow all together a little bit more. I'm going to use a stiff flat brush and try to lift a little bit more of a highlight into it. I don't know if it'll lift very well, but we're going to try.
Yes.
Dab. Okay, didn't really lift it very well, but that's okay. Okay, I'm going to go to my light blue again and put some of that in to this arm. Give the gills another layer of blue.
Good.
Draw that kind of into the head a little bit.
Touch.
I'm going to use this brighter blue now. It's going to feel very bright at first, but that's okay. To add a little bit to the gills. And a little bit into this arm.
Got it.
There we go. Okay. Now I need to make sure it's nice and dry before I add the facial features, or else it'll just bleed a lot. So I'm actually going to use a heat tool to dry it. And now I'm going to add in the facial features. So I'm going to start by putting in a little bit of blue on the eye and on the mouth. Okay. Now I'm going to take the dark cyan and do a line just under that blue that I added. Okay. And then I'm going to take that and add in just a dot of a little nostril. And then kind of ring the eye. And then dot it in, because I don't want the whole eye to be just this dark color. Okay. Then I'm going to take some more of the blue and kind of dot it around the eye a little bit more. Dot it on the nose a little bit more. And make it a little bit more on the back of the head. Kind of scrub it in. Okay. dark cyan again for the nostril and for the eye. You're just bringing it and a little bit in the mouth again to really pull that forward. I'm going to kind of blend this shadow down into the head a little bit because I didn't really like how it ended at the arm there too much. Gonna blend that out. I just tried to put the lid on my paintbrush. That's not the right thing. Okay, and then I think I'm gonna make the belly just a little bit bigger here and actually kind of meet up with this arm. So I'm using the dark cyan here to extend the belly a little bit, make it a little bit chubbier.
Wait.
And we'll see how it works because I need to add in all these other colors now and blend it seamlessly. Some more of those linear marks. Some more purple. Some more dark cyan. Just building up that darkness. Now, and then I'm going to take some of my light blue and build up a little bit of a shadow here on the leg, a little bit more of a shadow, so that it's not just going from this really dark to really light. Take a little bit of the dark cyan and kind of touch that in also. And just get a little bit of a transition there. A little bit of a shadow. Okay. Then blend that darkness a little bit more up.
much.
There we go. Now it's like a little chubby axolotl. I want to add a little bit more darkness to the tail now. Because I think that that contrast, that darkness, really helps. To make it pop off the page a little bit better. So I'm just gonna add that to the tail as well. Making sure I don't go too crazy with it. So maybe not quite as dark as this area, but still darker than it was. There we go. Okay, kind of like that. Now let's add a little bit more pop to the facial features. Just a little bit more darkness there. Little hint of like an eyelid there, I think helps. And then just a little bit more linear details in the fin, I think. Very, very subtle. Okay, now we're gonna do some splatter. So I'm gonna take the markers, I'm gonna take this brighter blue and get some of it out into the palette, and then get a little bit on the brush. It's turning green. The yellow that was in there. Okay. More blue. Dry it out a little bit because each time I go in there to try to scribble more, it rinses it off basically. So it takes a minute.
It changes.
All right. And there is my completed Axolotl card. So I'll probably write like happy birthday on it or something after it dries, but that is it. So again, here is that completed Axolotl painting. So I really enjoyed this, and at the time of filming, obviously it was before my daughter's birthday, but now I'm doing this close and it's after my daughter's birthday and she loved it. So that's just a little update. She was obsessed with it. So it was a big hit. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. Have an awesome day.